Hi guys, I know you guys haven't been seeing me for a while. I know that I've been feeling under the weather lately because of COVID. I think I caught COVID over one of the weekends that I was out, and unfortunately, I have not been able to make any videos because I was recovering. However, this video is not about me. It is about the Six Samurai deck that was able to top the WCQ or the EWCQ, the Edison World Championship Qualifier #7. So if we look at here, we have a pretty interesting meta here. Of course, Value Turbo was able to win first place. So congratulations to that player. However, me on the channel, behind the channel, is always interested to see the other decks that are able to win in Edison because we love Edison for its ability to play other decks in the format. So, looking at this, a player by the name of Alefia 2 is a very popular GOAT format player, I believe, because I've seen this name before hundreds of times in the past. So I'm pretty sure he's like the rogue player of GOAT format as well, because I've seen his other deck profiles, as well as some of his interviews as well. So big fan of Alefia. If you're watching this, big fan of you. So he was able to take a Six Samurai list. Let's go into the list real quick. So the list here is really interesting because he doesn't play three gateways of the six. I found that to be a pretty peculiar, and he actually decided to play three Six Samurai United. As opposed to three gateways. I'm always kind of curious as to what this kind of ratio is because Gateway is the one that's banned. It's the one that's being limited in later formats of the game or even banned. I don't know if it was ever banned actually, but it was limited to one for sure that I know for a fact because in formats where Gateway was at one, Six Samurai wasn't as consistent because you would have to see the Gateway and then also two Samurais that you can summon. But my previous renditions of Six Samurai of this year, I believe, meant that I played three Reckless Greed. This deck doesn't play any Reckless Greed. Instead, it went for more of a defensive back row. And that's kind of it makes a lot of sense to play more defense because the idea is that if you summon a Six Samurai under a Six Samurai United or a Gateway, then the next turn, if you could stick another Six Samurai on the board, you can practice the ability of this Gateway to the Six to search for the Grandmaster to special summon it, and then be able to do your combo plays. That's kind of the idea. The issue is that if you draw too many of the Gateways or too many of the Six Samurai or Six Samurai United, the idea is that if you have those cards out and they're not generating you pluses, your opponent can play cards that can essentially just nuke the board. Black Rose play is very popular against Blackwing, so Shura will run over one of your Six Samurais because they're typically weaker than Shura. And if Shura is smaller than the monster, they always have Collude as well. So it's very fearful play where they activate Heavy Storm to destroy your back row. Of course, they'll just destroy the Six Samurai. But if they don't have it, then the Shura can run over one of your Six Samurais that's smaller than 1800. And if it isn't, they can go in Collude, and they can go into Gale, the special, and then go in Black Rose after that. And then you just generally just lose all your value from there, and then you have to reset all over again. So the idea is that I believe Alefia decided to play the Starlight Road in case that would happen. If they go into, they run over one of your Six Samurai monsters with Shura, and they special summon Gale, they can make a Black Rose, and then if they make Black Rose, they can get hit by Oppression or Starlit Road. I'm personally not a fan of Oppression in Six Samurais because they can use your own Oppression against you. So, and I can see that he plays in the main deck Come On to be able to pop his own Oppression. The only issue is that if you play the Come On, you have to have another Six Samurai next to him to be able to activate his effect. And that's why I particularly don't like Come On in Six Samurais, even though I see the reasoning behind it. I particularly don't like Command because they can clearly wipe your board, and then you have to have another Six Samurai without special summoning in order for you to use Command ability. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not seeing the play here, but I definitely don't agree that Command. But he was able to get ninth place. So the other inclusion I see here is that he plays the Gale. The Gale is an interesting tech because, for one, he's able to use the ability of Gale to half the attack of a lot of different monsters and then run over it. And that can be problematic, especially if this deck plays off against the Stardust. But Stardust is not usually an issue with this deck because you have a way to pump up your Grandmaster to 2600 attack and then run over the Stardust using the Gateway of the 6. So I find like Stardust is not usually a problem for this deck. But if you're playing against other decks that play Vanity's Fiend, Vanity's Fiend is not so much of a big threat for Six Samurais because they have like trap cards to deal with it. And he also made X a Smashing Ground. But the other reasoning Gale is good is that you can Synchro Summon a Grandmaster off the field. And Grandmaster has this weird ability where you can only control one Grandmaster of the 6 on the field. And so you can't special summon the second Grandmaster and then proc the Gateway multiple times. So the idea is that if you synchro summon the Gale with the Grandmaster, which is 8, which is a perfect number, you're able to go into your level 8 synchros and then protect your Gateway from following plays, and then be able to special summon another Grandmaster because Grandmaster is now off the field. I like Gale for that ability to be able to do that. For the most part, you want to be able to normal summon as many 6 Samurais as possible because this is the deck that pretty much relies on the normal summon of a 6 Samurai or a special summon of a 6 Samurai. So, yeah. He decided to go for the Chaos Sorcerer. I personally don't like Chaos Sorcerer in decks that don't mill. Maybe that's just me. A lot of the decks that mill usually use Chaos Sorcerer in Edison format. In decks that don't mill or have a way to control their Dark and Lights to go to the graveyard as consistently, like in Tengu Plant format, using the Globe Bulb along with TG Hyper, along with Tengu, for example, allows you to go into a TG Hyper Librarian, and if you can get another level 1 out there, you can make a Formula Synchron. And then you're able to make both a dark and light go to the graveyard because Formula Synchron's a light and TG Hyper Librarian is a dark. And those decks aren't necessarily mill decks, but for the most part, Chaos Sorcerer kind of belongs in mill decks or decks that can like discard dark and light in slower formats like Go format. But in other formats like Edison, I definitely prefer the mill strategy to be able to mill a dark and a light, so you can special summon Chaos Sorcerer. There's really no way to control the number of darks in your graveyard. You kind of have to hope your Iru goes to the graveyard somehow on its own, and that requires kind of a lot of setup, especially since this deck is more of like a mid-rangey control deck, I would say. Chaos Sorcerer doesn't feel like it belongs in this deck. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that Alethea didn't decided to play Anishi, the Sheen's Counselor, because it requires you to have 2 6 Samurai in the field, and he can destroy a face-up monster. The only difference is that Anishi is a 2200 attack, and I personally don't play that guy because, again, it requires you to have setup in the graveyard, such as 2 Samurais in the graveyard. So, but apparently he has a good reasoning for playing the Chaos Sorcerer. I personally don't like it in 6 Samurais. The 2-handed of the 6s makes sense because of the dupe lock. I know the dupe lock is a menace to Edison format because it basically warps deck building in the metagame. So you basically have the main deck cards in your decks so you can deal with it. And not only deal with it, but be able to kill your opponent after that is kind of difficult to do in a lot of situations. So the Hand of the 6 Samurai is definitely a must. It's an in-engine, searchable in-engine archetype card that you could destroy dupe lock with. Granted that if you do use the Hand of the 6 Samurai, the dupe lock never misses timing, and so they'll be able to add a frog from their graveyard or their deck to their hand. So, but you need to deal with it, and this is the way to deal with it. The soft dupe lock can be dealt with Zanji. He decided to play the 3 Zanjis, and I agree with this ratio. However, he does not play Honest in this deck, and I really love Honest because Honest is one of those hand traps that even if they blow up your destroyer or all your back row, the Honest is going to stick so that you could, or the Honest in your hand can make it so that they can't run over your Zanji really well, so that your Honest can be able to do really well. Now the issue is if you do draw Honest and you don't have a light 6 Samurai monster on the field, or even any monster on the field that's a 6 Samurai, then the Honest is pretty much dead. Which is why I play the DD Warrior Lady in the deck as a way to out the soft dupe as well, which is why I like the version that I play. But yeah, I can see why people don't like to play Reckless Greed. I personally like it because it is a card that if you do open up the gateways in your opening hand, Reckless Greed allows you to essentially get your combo pieces to your hands, such as the Grandmaster of the 6. And you can normal summon any 6 Samurai, and that allows you to explode. And that's what I really like about the Reckless Greed, and that because you have so many cards in your hand, you're allowed to combo off and then allow you to generate +1s. And you don't really mind losing the draw phase because the gateway, in actuality, is going to be able to generate you value turn by turn when you are missing out on your draw phase. So that's kind of the idea, so that Reckless Greed becomes kind of like a +2 in a lot of situations. The break control is necessary in this particular build because you do play Grandmaster of the 6. So in the event that you want to tribute summon a monster and deal with the dupe lock on top of that, you can tribute summon for a Grandmaster, and then you're able to just try to control the game from there. 1 MST, I like it because Heavy Storm, I don't believe it belongs in this deck after many testing. Heavy Storm is one of those cards where if you don't play a lot of Floodgate cards in your deck, or as well as a lot of like continuous spell cards that gain you a value, you probably shouldn't be playing Heavy Storm in your deck anyways. And you also have Yaichi. Yaichi is probably the better card. I do play 3 copies of Yaichi as opposed to Kamon. I just love Yaichi for the ability to have a menacing threat, because if they don't deal with him, you're generating a +1. And because the reason why Yaichi is good is, even though he doesn't actually have to destroy a back row, because your opponent has a trap card in their hand and they can't set it, let's say it's a non-chainable trap card, you now know that the set card is not a non-chainable. And so, like, let's say, for example, they have like a Torrential Tribute, a Mirror Force, or a Deep Present in their hand. They're not going to set it. And because the opportunity cost for trap is to set it first before you can activate it, it makes it so that Yaichi gets a +1 turn by turn until that card is set. It makes it so that you're getting a value off the Yaichi, as opposed to, even though it doesn't actually destroy anything. So that's what I like about Yaichi. It provides hidden value, and then people don't realize that. Which is why I really prefer to play 3 Yaichis in this deck. All right, and then we have this 6 Samurai United. That's pretty much a staple, I would say. There's no reason why you shouldn't play this card, because you want to draw into your trap cards to defend your 6 Samurai. For the most part, the 2 Compulsory, I've been liking Compulsory more and more as the format has been evolved. It's a proactive trap card that you can use at any moment's notice, so long as you have to wait a turn. And then you're able to deal with something. You don't have to wait for your opponent to declare the attack to proc this ability. You can just use it at any moment's notice, and that's what makes this real card really good. So definitely good in 6 Samurais for sure. And then we have the 3 Deep Prison. He doesn't play Mirror Force from the looks of it. Oh, he does. So he plays its 4 defensive trap cards. And so these cards are really good because you can protect your 6 Samurais from being attacked. And this allows you to special summon or normal summon another 6 Samurai. And by normal summoning another 6 Samurai, you'll be able to add more gateway counters or Bushido counters to be able to special summon the Grandmaster in the next turn or the same turn. All right, and then we have the 2 Starlight Road. I personally don't like Starlight Road as of late. The decks that you're fearful of Starlight Road to play 2 copies of it are Blackwings, and then they play Oppression as well. And so even if you are able to activate the Starlight Road in the right conditions when they Icarus attack you, they always have Oppression to negate it. So for the most part, you're using this against GBs, because GB is not a deck that wants to use the Royal Oppression, and also a Heavy Storm play. For the most part, you don't really care to get Torrential too much, because Grandmaster has an effect to basically dodge the destruction effect of the trap cards that your opponent plays that are mass removal, such as Torrential, Tribute, and Mirror Force. But those cards don't really matter to you because, like I said, it's going to only be a 1-for-1. And so the Grandmaster just floats because of the Torrential Tribute. And because of that, the Torrential Tribute just doesn't matter for the long part. So that's why I don't really like the Starlight Road in this deck. Even though you are trying to protect your back row from Heavy Storm, 2 Starlight Road is just, it feels really unnecessary. The Trap does shoot, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because you want to see what your opponent has, especially trap cards, so that you know when to pop off and when not to. And then you also know when if they have Heavy Storm in their hand, so you don't have to commit too much cards to the field to do all your plays. For the most part, it's kind of like a solid 640 cards. I do like the Spirit of the Six inclusion. It's one of the best cards in the deck in case you're getting locked out by Reckless Greed, but he doesn't even play Reckless Greed anyway, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, but he got 9th place, so congratulations to him. Let's go into his side decker here. He does have the 2 Cyber Dragon, which is pretty staple. The 2D Crow is pretty staple. He does side the 2 Shogun Shien. I personally don't like this card, even though I get the idea behind him is to be able to lock out Dragon Turbo from using a lot of spell cards. Sometimes it matters against Light Swords too, but that's only if they open up Recharge with the Charge of Light Brigade. And so I don't feel like this card is really good against Light Swords for the most part. If we're talking about like Frog Heroes, the most spell cards I use is 2 cards per turn, but they could just go Kai's, remove him, and then activate their Miracle Fusion. So a card that I really like in 6 Samurai is Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now, I know you guys don't like Spell Fragrance in Edison format, but I personally am a huge fan of that card because, for one, it stops Heavy Storm from resolving on boards where you have like committed boards. And so they have to set the Heavy Storm verse, and if they're setting Heavy Storm, it means that you can activate Yaichi to pop it. And so I prefer to have that trap card over the Great Shogun Shien because Anti-Spell Fragrance works the second you draw it, whereas Shogun Shien, you have to have 2 Samurais on board to special summon him. That's the only thing I don't like about Shogun Shien. If he was able to special summon if you only had 1 6 Samurai, I would say this deck would be pretty good. Unless that's not the case. The Great Shogun Shien only works if you have 2 6 Samurai, and that's kind of the bummer part about him. So that's why I don't like him. He side decks him on one Book of Moon. I believe this is probably for Black Wings so that they can't get a search off the Black Whirlwind, and also to disrupts the synchro play. So I guess that makes sense for the most part. The 2 DeFi, I like DeFi as well in 6 Samurais because the idea is that if you activate this card and they try to bring out Treeborn, they have to lose that Treeborn forever by tributing it. So I see why this card is really good in today's metagame. Side decking it makes sense because you don't want to play this card against like GBs, which has been running pretty rampantly in the past few metas. So I can see why he doesn't want to main deck it, and this card really sucks against GBs. I have Storm them second in the side deck because you can go second, and if you go second and they have a Black Whirlwind and then they have a couple sets, you can just Heavy Storm it and then use do your play. But you do have to draw this card, which is kind of the bummer part. So it's not too bad to main deck it. As well, but I could see why people will want to side deck it. The Dust Tornado is really good too because it's an extra form of removal. I'm surprised that Lefty doesn't play 2 because this card pretty much can hit other MSTs. There are sets that disrupts your play. You can also hit other Dust Tornadoes as well. But he does have the 7 tools to negate the Dust Tornadoes in the event that they're trying to hit the gateway to the 6. And then we have the Massacre Restrict. This card makes a lot of sense because it shuts off frogs, and this deck doesn't need to tribute summon, even though you could. I wouldn't recommend it. So the only downside is of this card is that you can't tribute for Hand of the 6 to pop the dupe lock. So if they have the dupe lock on you and you draw into this card, and just try not to activate this card before you activate the Hand of the 6 to get rid of the dupe lock. The Royal Oppression in the side deck makes a lot of sense as well. However, I'm just not a big fan of Royal Oppression in 6 Samurais because now you're just a normal summon deck, and other decks normal summon better than you can. So I get the idea is that if you have this card and this card out, like Zanji and this card out, then it's pretty hard for them to get over 1800, but you don't have hand traps that can protect your guy, and you also don't have skill drain as well. So it's kind of like this is a card that you activate when you have an established board already, which I can see you can have when you normal summon, special summon these, and then set the oppression. But for the most part, I don't see it being that good, especially since people can nowadays just steal your monster under oppression with the brain control econ, and they could just sack your monster off, and then now you don't have any monster after they Caius you, and then you're locked behind your own oppression. I personally don't like oppression in 6 Samurais, but again, I wasn't the one that topped, so he was able to do something with his deck, I guess. And then the side deck, I mean, the extra deck probably doesn't matter as much. The 2 Stardust is probably the most important part, and then the 2 Chimeric deck. I know he plays a Gale, but for the most part, you're not going to be using the other cards of your extra deck. Okay, so we're going to go into a 1 replay video of this particular guy that was able to play. He's going to be scoring off against GBs, so I'm going to put it in the same video so you guys can see his thought processes turn by turn. Alright, so this is going to be the replay video of 6 Samurai versus the GB matchup. This was, I believe, round of 16. I don't know what that means, but round of 16 is the number. So that's how they were all able to get 9th place. A lot of people got 9th place, so I'm not sure how multi-day event works, but here it is anyways. So let's just start the video right away. So here we see that Lefty is going first with 6 Samurais, and he does open up the gateway of the 6 and the 6 Samurai United, but he does not open a 6 Samurai, which is pretty unusual. But let's say that he did play a Samurai instead of the Gale, he would be able to get 2 counters on the gateway of the 6 and only 1 counter on the 6 Samurai United. So he wouldn't be able to get any ability off anyways, even if he does have the 6 Samurai in his hand. So he sets 2 here as opposed to activating the gateway. I guess he doesn't want to really reveal what he's playing yet. And he's even setting the 6 Samurai United to giving the impression that he's playing some sort of heavy back row deck as opposed to a 6 Samurai deck. So off the bat, the Johnson Boss here, who's a GB guy, has Heavy Storm in play. So he can probably use the MST first to try to hit the Solemn Judgment or the Starlit Road. He makes a guess here and he hits the Starlit Road. So it's pretty peculiar here because he didn't roll the dice to choose something off the MST. He just straight up just picks Starlit Road. So kind of fishy to me, but whatever. So he Heavy Storms here and he hits 3 cards off the Heavy Storm, and now he's able to summon those Guardians safely and attack directly. So now that he has the 6 Samurai Knight in the graveyard, Johnson is able to know that he's playing against 6 Samurais. So now Lucori is able to tag out in the end of the battle phase, and then he's going to tag into a Sam Knight. So I think he does this play because he wants to be able to use the Book of Moon to set one of his 6 Samurais face down, and then he can attack over a monster and search for a GB card. So Lefty draws into a compulsory here. He's going to use the effect of the Gale to half the attack of the Sam Knight. He has to do this because even if he has Chariot or not, he has to run over the Sam Knight. Otherwise, the Sam Knight's going to get value. So right off the bat here, he's most likely going to Book and Moon the Gale here, so he can run it over to the next turn. Lefty is forced to kind of set the compulsory here to bounce back one of his monsters or the Sam Knight. So he's going to flip over the compulsory here. Compulsory is going to choose the Gale. So the Sam Knight's going to be able to tag out even with the half damage. And then he's going to be able to pretty much make it so that Gale's effect did nothing. So he's going to go tag into Laquari here. Laquari still has 2100 attack, but the Gale's going to still be able to deal with it, so that's pretty good. So now I can see why Lefty only decided to play the 2 Gateway the 6, because now he just drew 2 of them, and now he has no way to convert that advantage engine to his favor. So he's going to summon the Gale here and then half the Laquari, and that's going to be able to help him run over the Laquari. But unlucky for Lefia, Johnson does have the Prisma Test Tiger play, so he can actually special summon the Gyzaris here to pop the Gale, and then attack directly for 24. It's a good thing that Lefia didn't set the Gateway, because this play, if he did that, then he would have been able to pop the Gateway the 6 with no follow-up. So all Lefia needs is to draw 1/6 Samurai to be able to come back in this game. The back row doesn't seem to be anything to worry about. The dead Dust Shoot in his hand is now going to be pretty dead for the whole game, unless Lefia decides to keep drawing until the Dust Shoot is live. So it looks like here he's going to try to go into the Herculenos play. And the Herculenos play is going to be able to lock out the Gateway of the 6. So GBs has a really good way to convert the Dust Shoot into advantage. And that means that if you have the Herculenos on board, the Herculenos can just discard and negate. Unfortunately, Lefty was unable to see a 6 Samurai, and that's really unfortunate, because that's kind of the name of the game of this particular deck. We're going to go into games 2 now. Let's go back to the sideboard to see what he could possibly side. So we're back to decklist here. If he's playing against GBs, most likely he's going to be siding in the Cyber Dragons to be able to deal with the big monsters. Having a big monster against 6 Samurai is kind of the idea. I can't imagine him wanting to play the Shogun Chien. Shogun Chien is a combo card, and so because it is a combo card requiring you to have 2 Samurais on the board, GBs typically like to tear apart the combos anyways. But I can see it being really good, because in some cases, the GB player has to resolve many trap cards a turn, especially during the battle phase. So once they activate a battle trap, or even a trap like bottomless trap hole, it means that the Shogun Chien can come in there and then make sure that all the other 6 Samurais can attack safely. That's kind of the idea behind it. Let's see what else he can side. He can side deck the Dust Tornadoes as well. I probably wouldn't side Heavy Storm, because even though it's a card to blow out all their back row, they play cards like Starlight Road to negate all this stuff. So maybe he would side that. I'm not entirely sure. And then since he is on the Oppression, he'll probably side that card too, as well as the 7 Tools of the Bandit. Book of Moon is not too bad as well, because you can shut off the War Chariot by setting one of their GBs face down. So yeah, maybe DD Crow as well, because you can hit the Bestiary out of the graveyard, because it is Prisma Test Tiger combo. So you can just banish it from the graveyard. That's all I think that they would side deck. I don't know what they would side out. Maybe side out the compulsory, I guess. Compulsory is okay against them. So let's go back to the gameplay here. All right, we're going to be on games 2 now. So now Lefty is going to go first again. Again, he doesn't open up very well again. He opens up with no 6 Samurais that he can summon. So he's already having trouble. He's going to set the Torrential Tribute here, and now he's going to have to wait for a play for Lefia to do. Lefty's going to normal summon the Laquari here, and then he's going to declare an attack, but he's going to be met with a Torrential. He could use the My Body as a shield. I was kind of wondering why he did it. Maybe he wants to save it for another turn. Who really knows? He also doesn't activate the Cold Wave either. So 2 forms of ways that he could have done something. The Secutor doesn't really do anything in his hand, so I was kind of surprised that he didn't activate any sort of disruption against this. So it does look like a Lefty does side the Heavy Storm after all against GBs. He's going to set the Dust Tornado and pass, and Johnson draws a Sam Knight here. So he was able to draw a GB after all in his 44 card deck, I believe it was. He declares an attack with Sam Knight, and he tags out. And now he's going to go into a Bestiary to pop his back row. The back row is going to be a Dust Tornado, so he's going to chain it and then deal with his bottomless trap hole here. He's going to set Tumor back row and then pass. Still not drawing any 6 Samurais to really convert his Grandmaster to 6. Well, all he has to do is draw 1 so that he can actually play the game. Most likely, he could just activate the Heavy Storm and set the book, if I had to guess. He's going to activate the Smashing Ground, forcing the My Body's a Shield. So maybe he wanted to save the My Body's a Shield for bottomless trap hole. That's probably why he kept it in his hand. He's going to normal summon the Secutor and Contact Fusion. He's going to go into the Gyzaris and then attack for 2400 attack. So the DD Crow's not seeing any sort of play here, so he's going to be able to tag out here and then go into the Darius. The Darius is going to choose the Laquari that died, I believe, and then he's going to go into the Herculenos, but thankfully for Alethea, he does have the DD Crow to disrupt this play. So he's going to chain the DD Crow to Darius effect, and now he won't be able to go into the Herculenos, which is pretty bad for GBs, or it's really bad for against 6 Samurais, because 6 Samurais need to resolve their the spell and traps. So now he can activate the Heavy Storm here to play his plays. Normal summon the Zanji, special summon the Grandmaster. And now Alethea is in a really good spot here against GBs because GBs has to find a monster that's bigger than 1800 attack. And seeing that he only has Cold Wave in hand, that's going to be pretty unlikely. And even if he does have a monster bigger, he does have the Book of Moon to secure the victory here. So, yep. So it looks like it's pretty bad for Johnson here. Even though Alethea was unable to see a 6 Samurai for like several turns, he was able to take his victory back against GBs. So now he's going to set the Bestiary, and now all he has to do is attack over a monster after the Bestiary gets destroyed. Just in case Johnson has some sort of trick up his sleeve, the Rhoda here is going to fetch the Iroh here to destroy the face down, so he doesn't have to deal with it. Johnson makes a strategic scoop here, and that means that he can convert his, preserve his identity of the face down card, so that he can give Alethea the impression that he plays like other cards besides GBs that he can set, like Snowman Eater or something, or Morphing Jar. So he's going to summon the Prisma here, and then set Laquari here. Looks like he just draws a lot of back row, with no way to convert the back row into anything useful, except for, yeah, so even if he Heavy Storms, it's going to be a +2. So I'm not sure why he decided to do this, but maybe he just had no other choice. He's going to activate the Brain Control here, and he's going to attack with the Prisma so that he can sacrifice it for the Grandmaster here. Grandmaster is really good here because it's insulated by the, well, not Bottomless, but it's insulated by Torrential because he can just add himself back from the graveyard. So he's going to match his back row by his back row, and it looks like he draws into a Gores after saying so many back row. So this is going to be a bad Gores here because it sits in his hand doing nothing for a couple turns here. So Lefty here summons the 6 Samurai, Hand of the 6, and he activates the Trap Hole here, and that's going to be able to deal with the Hand of the 6 here without actually having to worry about the damage. So Grandmaster here is going to be able to hit for 2100 attack. So now Lefty could just keep capitalizing on this by normal summoning the Come On here. The Come On is a 1500 attack, so that's kind of nice. Johnson Boss asks if he wants to use Prio on this, but there's no face-up spell or trap on the field to destroy, so there's really no point in doing that. So now he's going to hit for 1500 attack. I believe Johnson's going to activate the Wabaku to save the damage here, and then I believe Alefi is just going to pass here. He's going to draw into a Dust Tornado and a Trap Stun, setting it. Alefi does have the ability here to Heavy Storm himself if he really wants to. But that feels pretty unsafe, especially since he saw the Wabaku. So he's going to try to attack here with the Lefty's life points and get him down to the grand total of 27 life points. So Book of Moon's going to stop the attack of the Grandmaster, and then he's going to activate Dust Tornado in the end phase to destroy a back row here. Alright, he's going to set the Trapstone here. He's going to activate MST and blind it, and he's going to try to hit a back row. He's going to activate the Compulsory, targeting the Grandmaster if I had to guess, and then he's going to activate the Trap Stun to negate it. Now Lefty is going to activate the Solemn Judgment. I personally would not activate the Solemn Judgment here because it's obvious that Johnson Boss has a play. That's why he did the Dust Tornado the last turn, as well as the MST blind. So saving the Solemn Judgment for the player that he was going to do was kind of the idea. So I definitely should have done that. But anyways, he saves the Grandmaster, and Johnson Boss just passes without doing anything here. So now Lefty, what he can do here is activate Heavy Storm. But if he does that, that kind of leaves him susceptible to the Gores. Let's see what he does here. Johnson Boss is probably toying with him at this point, and it looks like he just normal summons the Grandmaster. Oh, this is going to be a really good Gores for him. So if he attacks with Yaichi first, he can get him down to 1400 attack, 1400 life points. And so that would finish him off, but the issue is that the Gores token is going to block the attack, and then none of his monsters can deal with the Gores. So to play around like a Brain Control, hitting with the Come On will get him down to 12. So attacking with the Grandmaster would probably be the best play, except the issue is that the token can run over the other monsters. So that's why he decided to go with the Yaichi first here. Let's see if he does play Brain. I mean, GBs don't play Brain Control, so it makes sense that he would go for this play. So yeah, Kamal's going to run over the token here, and now Lefty is on top deck mode to see if he can find a way to deal with the Gores here. He's going to use the Gores here to run over the Grandmaster. The Grandmaster's going to get destroyed. And now he's going to pass a turn without setting the My Body's a Shield. He has a D present set, so he's going to put all his monsters in defense mode. I don't know if I would set both of them to defense mode, because now his GBs can attack his defense position monster. So if he draws into like a Murmillo, for example, his GBs can attack the defense position monster, even if it's smaller. So he draws into a Darius, so even if he did put in attack mode, it didn't matter too much. So Darius is going to come down here, and then that kind of plays around the D prison. So the question is, should he deprison the Gores or the Darius? Judging by the graveyard, the best thing he can do is tag into an Ikest. The Ikest is not too much of a big damage, but these monsters are smaller than Ikest, so it's kind of difficult to say. But I personally would play the deprison on the Gores here, as opposed to the Darius. Let him have his +1. So then, yeah. So the Darius is going to attack here. He's going to deprison the Darius instead of the Gores. So now he has to draw into like a Hand of the Six to deal with the Gores here, and he draws into the Trap Dust Sheet. Yeah, so if he had a real trap card, he would have been able to deal with it. I personally wouldn't have kept Dust Shoot, even though he was going, he was going second. So there's no reason to keep the Dust Shoot in the play, because GBs like to set their whole cards in their back row. Play around the Mirror Force. He's going to send the Sam Knight, and then he's going to attack into the Kamon here. Yeah, this was kind of curious here. So he summoned the Darius last turn with one set, and Mirror Force wasn't known, but now he's, maybe because he had My Body. Never mind. So the My Body isn't going to be able to, he can't even use My Body actually. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. He decided to go all in with the play with Darius and Gores that turn. Not fearing the Mirror Force. Now he fears the Mirror Force by setting the Gores to defense. I don't really know. This feels a little weird. Anyway, so he's gonna special summon the Test Tiger. So he knows the Torrential's gone, so that's why he does this. And he wants to see if he can bait out the back row. And then he's gonna go into Bestiary, and then he's gonna bottomless the Bestiary. So now Gores is gonna be able to do a clear shot of 2700 attack here. And now LFE is on top deck mode, and he draws the 6 Samurai. Spirit of the Six too late. Had he just drawn it earlier, he would have been able to equip to one of his 6 Samurai monsters, and then run over the Darius the following turn. So it's not out of the game yet, but 6 Samurai is kind of like a combo mid-range deck, and so it's gonna be pretty gone for Alethea here. So yeah, pretty much I pretty much can see the writing on the wall here. It's just gonna be setting and passing until he loses the game here. Alright, yeah, so that was a gameplay between GBs against 6 Samurais. In my history of playing 6 Samurai, I feel like GBs is actually one of my easier matchups. However, maybe Johnson Boss is just that good of a GB player, so Leffy was kind of on the downside. But I did see Leffy just draw absolutely garbage. But he also plays like a lot of non-6 Samurai monsters, I guess. But there was one game where he drew Gale and nothing else. But he didn't draw Sorcerer, and I don't see Sorcerer in this game either. So really hard to say what he could have sided deck if he just played a different variant on this deck. But yeah, that was the gameplay video between the only gameplay video I was able to find between the GB matchup versus the 6 Samurai matchup. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video for 6 Samurai. I know 6 Samurai hasn't done much this year, but this was the closest that I was able to do so far this year. This year is still young. We still have only we have August and the rest of the year to see if 6 Samurais can do anything this year. Hopefully it's going to be a variant of Reckless Greed 6 Samurais. If not, then we're going to probably have to see some sort of other variants. Maybe I'll take something to a bigger locals to see what I can do with it. But for now, that's it, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.